Hello and welcome to the Colts Cover-2 Podcast. I am Joel A. Erickson. I am joined, as always, by Nat Newell, my sports editor. The Colts won. The
How did
Colts
that happen?
won. It's the first time that they're 2-0 since 2009. And if you look at their schedule, maybe this will come up in the latter categories, but if you look at their schedule, there's a chance to get off to a pretty good start here beyond just being 2-0. But it really felt like they were not going to be 2-0 for a little while.
I don't know, for actually the clock literally hit zero. The game was ran out of time, and you thought that they weren't going to be 2-0.
Yeah, it was a game that you really thought they weren't going to be 2-0. I thought for a second that the whole last 2 minutes of the game, I think all of us were trying to come to grips with what Shane Steichen was doing, and I don't want to step on the categories here, but all that to be said, though, this team is 2-0, and how they got here, yeah, there's plenty to worry about with Shane Steichen, but I don't think a lot of people had them at 2-0, and I really don't think anyone had them beating the Broncos in the way that they did, where really they beat them.
Well, no one in the history of the NFL has beaten another team the way the Colts beat the Broncos, so I think we're safe saying that.
Well, I just mean they beat them with offense, and I think coming into this game, most people thought, this is the defense that's going to make Daniel Jones look more like Daniel Jones, and the Colts still haven't punted.
Well, you said most people didn't have them 2-0. I had them 0-2. So, people should take that into account when listening to anything I say during this podcast.
Okay, we're going to jump into the categories. It was a weird 4:00 game. I was terrified all day that I wasn't going to make it there on time because I had somehow gotten in my head it was a 4:00 game when it was actually 1:00. It was 4:00, so it's late. We're just going to hop right into the categories. Colts won today, 29-28. We'll start with hero of the game. Who do you have for your hero?
It's got to be the ref who called the leverage call. I don't know where else you go with that. We'll get into the. I guess we'll just start with the call. I'm sure people out there have seen the video of it. If you haven't, you can go to IndyStar.com. We've got, I think, 4 stories up with leverage in the headline. So pick any of them, and the play is in there. It sure doesn't look to me like the leverage is if a defensive player uses a teammate or an opponent to launch themselves in the air. And did the defensive guy push down on the snapper, which I believe is also a penalty? That seemed like what happened, although I guess it was on Dalton Tucker, so maybe that wasn't what happened. Sure didn't look like he was leveraging himself to launch, or didn't look like he launched himself. He touched him, but I don't think he put any force on him at all. It just seemed like a bad call to me. So if nothing else comes out of this podcast, anybody who listens to this, I just want one of you, just please one of you, go on Twitter and say, next time there's a bad call against the Colts, go on Twitter and say, yes, that was a bad call, but we beat Denver because we got an even worse call, so I'm not going to complain about this one bad call. You can go back to being yourselves after that, but please, just one of you acknowledge that the Colts didn't deserve that call, and sometimes these things even out.
I think that based on my Ask Joel responses at halftime, that a significant amount of those people are going to send you a different email that says something about a bad pass interference call or a missed pass interference call or something like that, and that this was the karma that they needed for it. So,
okay, I don't think there was. I remember one pass interference call I did not agree with. I didn't think that made up for what happened here. Although I guess if they don't call the pass interference, maybe they don't score the touchdown and it's a different game. But no, I think this was a rare occasion when the refs really change. Most of the time I don't like people complaining about the refs. And yeah, there's a million plays that go on in a game that all can alter the outcome. So again, the Colts won. Don't take anything away from that. They won. There's other games they're going to lose at some point because the refs call go against them. So I am in no way, shape, or form saying they should be upset. Fans shouldn't take this as a win, but I think the worst.
It looks more like he's trying to like brace himself. Like he's already kind of fallen.
Yeah.
And he puts his hand on Dalton Tucker's helmet to like brace himself. Yeah. I I think Nate and I used to joke that if we wanted to, we could just pick the referees for villain of the game every time, and people would be excited about it.
I picked for hero of the game. Let us know here, please.
I think hero of the game, since you have the referee, I think it's Daniel Jones. Jonathan Taylor had a gazillion yards, but for most of that game, that it just felt like this was driven by Daniel Jones. I'd have to go back and look for sure, but they completed like 6 passes or 7 passes against Patrick Surtain, including some really big ones. I think he only got sacked once.
Yeah,
by a defense that looked like it was getting pressure. Like there was a bunch of stuff in this game, and I was kind of trying to come to grips with it on the drive home. Like there's a bunch of stuff in this game that was supposed to be the stuff that Daniel Jones does poorly. Daniel Jones is supposed to take a lot of sacks, and last week we were like, well, Miami's not that good. You know, they didn't have a lot of pressure. There was pressure today. There was an opportunity to take sacks if a quarterback was going to take some sacks. Instead, he got the ball out of his hands. Surtain, a lot of teams just avoid him. They just don't throw at him. Jones kind of went right at him early and often. And I know Taylor had a lot of yards late. But there was a long stretch there in the first part of the game where the running game was almost like an afterthought. Like they were clearly geared up to stop it. It was the 68-yarder that kind of busted it open. Daniel Jones kept them in the game while the defense was just hemorrhaging yards. And
yeah, I don't think there's. I mean, you have to say. I mean, is Daniel Jones for real? Is he an MVP candidate? I'm not going that far, but you have to say he is a legitimate quarterback who can help this team win games right now. And we said after the Miami game, maybe Miami's terrible. Denver's not terrible, especially on defense. So I'm not saying that anymore.
Yeah, I think people can probably hear it in my voice. I'm surprised to be giving Daniel Jones the hero of the game after the second game. But yeah, I really felt like the difference in this game was the Colts passing game sticking around and refusing to let Denver pull away. So that's the hero of the game for me, which everyone predicted. Everyone predicted that Daniel Jones would be the hero of the game.
And more surprising.
All off season.
Yes, yeah, including us. More surprising that Daniel Jones has looked the way he has in the first 2 games, or that after this game he admitted just like this much that he's taking satisfaction from it.
Yeah,
surprise.
I think it's probably the second one.
He is an all-pro level, first team all-pro level, say nothing in the press conference guy. I'm sure the fans don't care about this as much as we do, but it is impressive how little he says so often.
He also did the thing today where if you ask him about him playing well, he said a bunch of stuff about his teammates. And then when we asked about the red zone issues, he was like, oh, it's all my fault.
Yep. And that works until you stop winning or you say it's my fault. You don't fix it. Chuck Pagano was great at this. He always said everything was his fault. He's the head coach. That's fine. A lot of it probably is his fault. But eventually when things don't work out, when you say it's your fault, it's your fault, and you don't fix them, you get fired. So now
weirdly,
you don't say that, you'll still get fired. But whatever.
Weirdly, we thought that's where Daniel Jones would be, and he's not. He's not through 2 weeks.
No.
That since those are our heroes of the game, that moves us to villain of the game. This is going to be one where it's just kind of like which one, pick your poison. Which villain do you want to pick?
Yeah, no, I think I know where you want to go, so I'll leave that one for you. I mean, Shane Steichen is the villain of the game for whatever he was desperately trying to do to mess up the game at the end. I mean, you wrote the story, so give the play-by-play of what where they were at and just sort of how it went, and then I will tear apart everything that he did.
So they had the ball. This is maybe the most confusing thing to me is that the play that precedes all this is 3rd and 6. They desperately need the first down. They're at midfield. Daniel Jones hits Alec Pierce for 7 yards and a first down on Patrick Surtain. After 4 runs by Jonathan Taylor, the last one before that pass for no gain. So there's at this point, Denver takes timeout. There's 1 minute and 44 seconds left. They run the ball once. They take the ball all the way down. They take the clock all the way down to 1 minute and 2 seconds. They run the ball again. They get a grand total of 3 yards. So right now they're at Denver's 40.
Which is a 58-yard field goal.
It's a 58-yard field goal. They take timeout with 17 seconds left. On 3rd and 7, they run Taylor up the middle again. He gets stuffed for 2-yard loss. They take a timeout at 3 seconds. And then Spencer Schrader is brought on to kick a 60-yard field goal, which I think it's important to point out would be the Colts franchise record by 2 yards.
And the longest, I could not find his college numbers. His longest field goal in the pros, which is admittedly is not, 18 kicks or whatever, is 48 yards. I just did not get this at all. You needed 10 more minimum. You needed 10 more yards, and I do not understand why. You get the 7-yard gain to Pierce. Everything is working for you. Hey, I get it. You could throw an interception. You could fumble. You could get sacked. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. But you want to know what one of the things that could go wrong was? Gaining no yards and having to kick a 60-yard field goal to try to win this game with a kicker who's never kicked anything longer than 48 yards. It's just and Steichen's aggressive, which I usually agree with. Not everything works, but I agree with what he's trying to do. I have no idea what was going through his head. You and the rest of the media tried to get explanations out of him afterwards. His only explanation was, hey, we were in field goal range, and then we lost 2 yards. So 58 is good, but 60 is not. We'll ignore the fact that the kick was way short and way right on 60 yards, probably not making it at 58 in that situation. So, this was just, like I say, villain of the game. This is I know you usually go for the Marvel universe, whatever. If I didn't know better, it seemed like, this was very much, traditional.
He was actively trying to lose it.
Yes, Marvel comic villain trying to lose the game.
So he said he was worried about kicking off to the Broncos again.
If you missed, as someone noted in the press box, if you missed the field goal, you don't have to kick off. So he was he was good either way then, because they make it, the game's over. They miss it, you have to kick off.
Also, I believe he had all of his timeouts. Denver had none for this entire minute and 44 seconds. So he controls literally everything about the clock. The Denver doesn't control any of it. They weren't in field goal range. That's where it breaks down on its face. They weren't in field goal range.
He needed 10 more yards. Just throw the ball. You had as many downs as you wanted to throw the ball.
The 40
timeouts. You could throw the ball in the middle of the field. You could throw it anywhere you want. Yeah, but I honestly don't think is anyone gonna if Jones throws an interception, would people have criticized him? I'm sure, because people will criticize anything. But what? What are you gonna say except you had to get more yardage to get your kicker a better kick? It's just bad.
and also that would be the first interception Jones threw in a Colts uniform, right?
Yeah. And he
was really good all game.
You've made this point. He's been really smart these 2 games. If you're going to put the ball in his hands, he's the guy you want to put the ball in his hands because he's shown he can do it. So, yeah, again, Shane Steichen does some things from time to time and doesn't want to explain them. But then, the next day, he will kind of explain them. He tried to explain this, and he couldn't. We have a story up that says exactly that. He tries to explain it. And as some people pointed out, maybe he didn't try very hard to explain it because there is no explanation for it. It almost seems like he just, I don't want to say froze up because that's not fair. And again, he's in the game. God knows how much adrenaline's running through you. I'm sure it's really difficult but that's your job, and you should know that. You should know.
Well, also, there should be somebody in his ear telling him,
yeah, we need
hey,
10 more yards.
We need 10 more yards. In fact, there should be like 3 people going, hey, we need 10 more yards.
Yes.
A 60-yard field goal is a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We need more of an explanation. I would venture to guess that there's not an explanation that's going to make sense to any of us.
No. This is
the
the only
even Sean Payton from Denver, on the other side, they were asking him what they were thinking, and he was like, yeah, we thought there was going to be a boot pass or something.
Yeah, this is point. The only thing I can think of is that Shane Steichen was consulting the same people that Nico Harrison, the general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, consulted when he traded Luka Doncic, and then said they get the first round pick and an unbelievable long shot in the lottery, and then say, yeah, that was the plan. So this was the plan. Kick the 60-yarder, try to kick the 60-yarder, draw the leverage penalty, and then you get a 45-yarder and he makes it.
Like I put in the story that we have up on Indy Star about this, yes, he made the 45-yard kick. That's what you should have been aiming for.
Yes, exactly. Because even 10 yards is 50 and longer than he's kicked. So, but yeah, I got nothing left to say because I don't understand what was going on.
I mean, Shane is the villain of the game. There's not really any way. You could also add like a bonus part of villain of the game because he lost his mind.
Yeah, and get the 10-yard penalty. I didn't know that.
I bet most Colts fans are happy with that one. I'm going to be honest. I bet they were.
And he just said, what did he say? It was in the headline. I wrote the headline. I can't remember.
He said, I can't do that again or something like that.
Well, I can't be that stupid or something. That's what he said. I give him credit for that. Hey, he had a good explanation for that. He did not have any explanation for whatever the heck was going on in time clock management at the end of that game.
Yeah, but the alternate villain of the game for me, since we each get to pick one, Xavier Howard.
Yep.
I telegraphed this before the first game. I just had you said it in the press box. You looked at me and you were like, you weren't wrong. You were just early.
Well, is that the worst? I mean, I would love to be able to search penalties by a player. He committed 3 penalties in 5 snaps. Obviously, they're not plays because there are penalties, so they don't count as a play. But in 5 snaps, he commits 3 penalties. I mean, it was he ought to be very thankful that they won the game because that was just ugly as it gets.
On top of that, on the first drive, they ran a crosser, beat him badly across the middle for a first down. On the very next play, he gets beat by Marvin Mims for the touchdown. He looked old.
And
he looked old.
I believe it was 5 for 5 with 2 touchdowns against him. Is one tweet I saw. I wish I could remember who had it, but that was one thing I saw.
He looked old, which he's old.
Yeah,
he's 32 years old. He played no games last year. He hasn't played since New Year's Eve 2023. Yeah, I'm not surprised Sean Payton went after him. When I covered the Saints, that was what Sean did. Is he would find some matchup he liked and just hammer it over and over again. And that's what the Broncos did. He just the other thing is, yes, they get Ward back next week, and that I should say probably. You never know with a concussion. They probably get Ward back next week, and then maybe you can lessen the impact on him a little bit. But you still have him in a starting role.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he seemed like he was really good against Miami. He was terrible today. We can give him one more game and see what happens, especially against the Titans.
You chose him over other players with starting experience who are younger. Now, all those players got hurt, but still, you would be starting him if they were healthy because last week you didn't play the one that started last year at all on defense.
Yes, you would have to think if Jalen Jones weren't on IR now that he would have – you'd hope that he'd be receiving, or maybe we'd have a different villain of the game in Lou Anarumo.
Well, we can just roll into Unsung Villain of the Game if you want to pick one of those right away.
Unsung Villain of the Game. I went with the fact that there's absolutely no pass rush. Perhaps that's not unsung because by the end of the game, I think it was. Before they won the game, if they had lost this game, I don't think it would be unsung because that's all anyone will be talking about. I mean, this has just been a flaw of Chris Ballard's. I don't want to say since he's been here because he's picked up a couple of guys who were pretty good on the pass rush, but he just hasn't been able to draft anyone. Laiatu Latu was out because of the hamstring injury, but we don't. I mean, he hasn't shown. You can't give up on him yet, but he also hasn't shown that he can. He's a serious pass rusher, which means they don't really. I mean, DeForest Buckner is an excellent pass rusher for a defensive tackle, but unless you're Aaron Donald, you can't get away with just a defensive tackle. So, they just got to find some way to get past. And now they had a couple of sacks from defensive backs against Miami. Maybe there's a chance to dial that up again going forward. But it was awful today.
I think the official scorer made a mistake, and I think they probably should have had one sack.
I was wondering about that too. Buckner should have had a sack late in the game.
Yeah, I looked it up. They called it a design run. It was not a design run. That doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
But even if you count that sack, that's still the only quarterback hit they had. That's and I was watching. I tend to watch the protection through the binoculars at least, for the first couple quarters and stuff. And it was pretty clear the Broncos' plan was just get as many bodies as we can that are all offensive linemen on DeForest Buckner. We can block the rest of these dudes. And they were right.
Yeah,
we're dead right.
And there isn't really anyone. Really, who else would you be? Now, again, not that they're not some decent all-around players, but there isn't anyone else you fear in the pass rush. The linebackers aren't blitzers, and Tyquan Lewis and Kwity Paye and whoever else have moments, but but they're not going to get after the quarterback because of pure talent.
Yeah.
Like that.
Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam are second effort guys, but the problem with second effort guys is you need someone to make the first effort.
Yeah,
and they just didn't really have that at all. My unsung villain. This is really unsung, but what's going on with the Colts kick return team? And really their return team in general. Anthony Gold today, 2 returns for 4 yards in the punt return. Gold was at 25 yards, which that used to be a good number. When you were that used 25.7 yards per return used to be a good number. It's not anymore because you need to get it out past the 35. Ashton Dulin did have 1 good return, but this special teams issue. When it's in the preseason, you kind of look at it and you're like, well, it's the preseason. They're playing a bunch of guys. Who knows? Whatever. This is going to bite them if this keeps up. You're going to lose field position. You're going to run into a better return man and give something up. It feels like this new kickoff return. It just feels like they don't have a good handle on it. It feels to me like the middle of their return block is getting whipped. I don't know. A couple people asked me about it and asked Joel, and I was like, you know what? It has looked really bad.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. It seems like there's an opportunity to gain an edge there, and they're not taking it. That's 100% true.
Well, the other thing is maybe you could use the extra yards since there's a cap at 55 yards before your offense starts to mess up with the red zone. But I don't know. The special teams return stuff, it just feels like the Denver game last year turned on a couple big returns. That's part of the reason they lost that game. And it just feels like there's some potential for something like that to happen coming up if they don't get things fixed pretty fast.
I would agree with that, but I don't have anything else to say about the kick return.
Unsung hero of the game.
I went with Lou Anarumo. Originally, I had Jonathan Taylor here, and then he had a 68-yard run. I don't think you can say that's unsung. And at one point in the press box, we're talking about how the main story was about how the defense didn't get the job done. I give Anarumo credit because they looked terrible early. Howard was awful in that one stretch, but they did seem to figure out just enough to slow down Denver and put the Colts in position to get whatever weird plan that was to kick a 45-yard field goal at the end of the game. So I don't feel great about my unsung hero, but I do. And they're missing Latu and they're missing Ward. One, by all accounts, Ward, is what he's supposed to be. Another, Latu is what they're hoping to get, a shutdown corner and a big-time pass rusher are the two most important positions on defense. They didn't have the two guys who were supposed to fill those roles, and they still managed to win this game and at least slow down the Broncos when in the second half of or fourth quarter, really, more than anything else.
Punt, interception, missed field goal were the last three drives for Denver.
Yeah, and the field goal was a 42-yarder. Again, they just got more luck. I mean, that's just missed field goal luck. Otherwise, they have no chance. Although maybe if he had kicked the field goal and Steichen had to go for it, then they would have scored a touchdown or something at the end rather than what he did. But yeah, but another example, a totally overlooked piece of really good luck, and that the number of 42-yard field goals missed in the NFL these days is very small.
In the interests of following your referee for hero of the game, you could also make J.K. Dobbins an unsung hero of the game for inexplicably spiking the football on a non-touchdown.
Yeah, and that moved the ball back. Yeah, that was another weird one. Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go with Cam Bynum because I wrote 4 stories today and none of them were Cam Bynum, and I'm going to write one I think tomorrow on him, but somehow him making essentially the only defensive play, and well, I shouldn't say somehow. Him making the only defensive play fell by the wayside because of whatever Shane Steichen was doing at the end of the game. But that was a big interception. It was a huge interception. Were they in field goal range? They were close.
I don't think so, but I will look it up while you go on about Cam Bynum.
They were in field goal range. They were at the Indianapolis 28, which according to Shane Steichen is 12 yards further than field goal range. They were in field goal range when he made that pick. That's another drive that could have gone bad. Like it's not like the most impressive pick in the world because Bo Nix clearly missed and he's too high and he went and got it.
I just missed.
But here's the thing. We've seen a lot of free safeties come through Indianapolis recently who wouldn't have made that pick.
Yeah, and the other thing I mentioned this last week with the celebrations. I got the celebration down for another category, so I'm not going to go into it here. But Bynum just seems to bring energy, which is something he said he was going to do, which I don't usually put a whole lot of stock in. But after 2 weeks, now the first 3 quarters there wasn't a ton of defensive energy, but once he makes the interception, everything seems to swing around.
I'm gonna have this quote when I write the Bynum story in the morning. But just Kenny Moore said the biggest thing is that in the secondary it's hard to stay up because everything is kind of coming at you and you're so exposed. And he said Bynum's just pure positivity, and so it like helps keep you up when everything seems to be going badly, like it was today. That brings us to number of the game. I think of this as your favorite category.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I didn't dig into this as much as I should. Well, actually, I'll use my second number, which was dug into 272 points. That's the pace. Schrader is on to score 272 points this year. That would break LaDainian Tomlinson's NFL record by I think the record's 189, something like that. So, hey, Spencer Schrader is going to be the all-time. I should have figured out how many years it would take him to pass before he passes Adam Vinatieri as the league scoring leader at 272 points a year.
He's also kicked 4 field goals between 20 and 29 yards, which in the age of people going for it is kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, 9 of 9 on field goals with the longest of 48. So I will get to that later in another category too.
My number of the day is 9.3. If you look at Daniel Jones' passing statistics for the entire season, he is at 9.3 yards per attempt, which is 2.5 higher than his previous career high.
I mean, which is a good number under any circumstances, but it's just a completely, totally insane number for Daniel Jones, given his previous history. And obviously Daniel Jones deserves a lot of credit for that, but so does Shane Steichen for getting receivers open and convincing Jones to throw the ball down the field or scheme it up so that there's room to run after, yards after the catch.
People tend to discount the scheming it up thing, but realistically in today's NFL, like if you watch a lot of games, that's probably, I'd be curious what the percentage is. I bet the percentage of explosive pass plays is more stuff that's schemed up or thrown short and intermediate with run after the catch than it is the deep ball.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to find out. Although the other number I do know is that they say that like you're much better off if you want a first down, you're much better off throwing the ball to the sticks and rather than flipping it out there and hoping someone gets to the sticks. So I don't know. We'd have to look up how that all combines together.
That brings us to the interlude. We are at game day observation. Our game day observation from today. I had several people ask me about the roof and why it was closed. I assume it was because it was hot, but I also wanted the roof open. So anybody who was there that wanted the roof open, I also wanted the roof open. My colleagues who are cameramen would disagree with me on this, and I'd be in big trouble for saying that, but I like it better when the roof's open. Sue me.
Yep, I would agree with that. The roof should be open. I mean, it was supposed to be mid-80s today, which is not nothing, but there's also the whole thing about none of the players actually want the roof open, the kickers and the quarterbacks and things like that. So I think they lean towards keeping it closed if there's an excuse. But my game day observation was that we not only got the mascot versus the Youth Football League All-Stars in which Blue, the Colts mascot, goes out there and tries to destroy little children. We also got the Cam Bynum Blue celebration where he stuffed the football under his shirt so it looked like he had a belly like Blue, and they did the little pelvic thrust, I guess, to the patented Blue celebration. And then later I saw that Bynum said that if Blue is nearby, Blue is going to be part of the celebration. So that's good to hear. Well, we can always use more Blue.
I did not realize that mascots were okay, but now the NFL has set a precedent that mascots are okay.
Well, let's not try to figure out what the NFL celebration, what's a penalty and what's not. There was some talk, I think, from Bynum. He did say he was worried that the mascot might bring a penalty, but because he doesn't, he'll do it more often. But who knows? Maybe they'll maybe that'll be a penalty next game. And let us say first, if it is, no one complained because the Colts had no business getting a leverage call on the end of this game.
That brings us to three football things that gave me joy. These are always not always, but usually they're fairly small plays that people might have forgotten about. This one always gives me joy because I think it's funny. Sean Payton, who I think is a very smart person when it comes to designing offense, decided to throw a bubble screen with Kenny Moore to Kenny Moore's side and ended terribly. I just don't understand. I don't get it. Like, these guys watch so much film. How did they not notice that 23 is constantly blowing up bubble screens? It's hilarious.
I will say the Football Outsiders, now they're FTN. I think I cannot remember what their name is, but they did have a number that said, they did have a stat that said Kenny Moore actually gets his tackling, he gets lots of broken tackles against Kenny Moore in general, but there's no broken tackles on that bubble screen. He makes that play I don't know what the deal is, but he makes that. So maybe that throws off the opposition. They think they can break tackles, but you can't break that tackle against Kenny Moore.
I think it's very funny. Number two football thing that gave me joy, in the locker room. This is, we don't usually have the in the locker room ones, but when we got in the locker room after press conferences with Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen, Matt Gonzalez, I didn't hear all of this conversation, so I can't relay it. Matt Gonzalez was pumping up Dalton Tucker for being the reason that they won.
He is the one who got the leverage call, so that 100%.
And I didn't hear exactly what it was, but it was something like, "Hey, you saved the game. You got us the you saved the game. That was what we wanted." It was hilarious. Number three football thing that gave me joy. Jonathan Taylor apparently hit 22.38 miles per hour on his catch and run, which is the fastest any running back has gone since Raheem Mostert in 2020. The reason that this gives me joy is that it's the fastest any running back has gone in that time, and it's not enough for Jonathan Taylor because he wants to hit 23 miles an hour. which the only player since 2020 to hit 23 miles an hour is Raheem Mostert. Like he's chasing a like human impossibility. It's hilarious.
Well, he did get caught on that play and tackled. Now the defender had a good angle, so that which is
angle.
Maybe if he was at 23 miles per hour, he would have scored on that.
Well, it's like one of those things too that I think some fans probably be like, "Oh, JT's getting slower. He got caught on both of his runs." And it's like, no, we actually have the data now to say he's not any slower. He was actually very fast. It's just pay attention to geometry, kids. It teaches you to learn your angles.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could get kids to listen a lot more if you were like, "This is figure out the angle you need to get on a tackle." That would work a lot better. That brings us out of the fun stuff. It gets us back to some of the other ones. This is since they won, it is too much credit, too little credit. We are going to go with too much credit. Who's getting too much credit for today's win?
I went with Spencer Schrader just because he hasn't made a field goal that's of any length. Again, he made a game-winning field goal after not only did he make the game-winning field goal of 45 yards, which, anytime you get that camera angle from right behind the kicker where they show him kicking the ball through the uprights, the only thing that surprises me is that anyone ever makes a kick. So it just looks impossible to do. But so he misses the kick, but then comes right back and gets the kick. So credit there. But again, he's 9 of 9 for field goals, none of them longer than 48 yards. I don't want to get too excited about that yet. But so he is my too much credit.
Can we give the Colts too much credit?
Yeah, I mean, in this one, because the Broncos did all. The Broncos did a bunch of stupid things, but then the Colts did. I mean, Steichen at the end is almost making up for that single-handedly.
The Broncos did a bunch of dumb things, but the end of that, like I don't think I fully processed it in the moment, like how bad it was, because and we every once in a while we bring this stuff up. Like I'm writing furiously towards the end of games, usually, just kind of the way it works, especially close games. And you're paying attention and you're like, this is really bad. But it's hard to like have it fully sit with you until the game's over and you're going home and you're like, wait, they really let 1 minute and 44 seconds run off the clock to get 1 yard?
Yeah.
And kick a 60-yard field goal. The Broncos, people who cover the Broncos were saying it reminded them of Nathaniel Hackett doing it. It went very poorly for Hackett, but it didn't go poorly for the Colts. Like, yes, they're 2-0, and that they haven't done that since 2009. But also, they probably should be 1-1.
100% they should. 100% they should. So I like that. That's good. That's good. You're probably winning the First Impression podcast so far.
That brings us to too little credit. Who is getting too little credit?
I went with the depth of weapons they have at receiver. They had I got to call up the box score here. They had, Tyler Warren had 79 yards, Alex Pierce had 68, Josh Downs had 51, Jonathan Taylor had 50, Michael Pittman had 40, A.D. Mitchell had 20. And all of them had multiple catches. Mo Alley Cox also had 1 for 8 yards. And I think that you can't really key on anyone. You can key on Taylor as a runner, certainly, but I don't think you can really key on any one receiver a little bit because they don't have that necessarily elite guy, but they get a bunch of guys who are really good. And that might be a bigger strength than necessarily than having one big name and then, a bunch of other guys who aren't going to necessarily, or a bunch of guys you can't necessarily count on. And I think that also plays into Daniel Jones, plays into what Shane Steichen wants to do.
Yeah, and like Tyler Warren feels like after the first 2 weeks, he's at like 155 yards or something like that. It feels like he's the kind of guy that maybe teams should scheme against, but they can just do too many different things with him. I think it makes it hard to identify him and like stick somebody on him because he comes out of everywhere. It's hard to do. Too little credit for me this is kind of an offshoot of what you just did, but Jonathan Taylor's pass catching.
Yeah.
We have this ongoing joke that there was a season, it was the Carson Wentz season, where Jonathan Taylor was averaging something like 12 yards per reception after the first 8 games. And I wrote a story about it, and then he never got yards again.
And he's never caught a pass. He had not caught a pass since before this season. So 12 yards a catch by a running back is crazy high.
But the thing is, though, if you go look at his receiving, he did have 36 catches as a rookie and 40 in 2021. And then even 2028, or even 28 in 2022 is not that bad. The last couple of years, his hands are not consistent. They're never going to be consistent. But his yards per reception is actually really good. He's at 7.8 for his whole career, which is really good for a running back. He's been over 8 4 times. And Daniel Jones or Shane Steichen, I think it's Daniel Jones because Shane Steichen was here last year and presumably wanted to get some of these throws, has been able to take advantage of it in ways that they haven't been able to, because he's caught 3 passes for 27 yards last week. He gets the ball out there quickly. This comes from covering veteran quarterbacks, but apparently the thing that sets guys apart when it comes to throwing to the running back is not that they use the running back, it's when it goes to them. And I think that one was probably schemed up, but also I've noticed in the past that a lot of times what we think of as a check down comes from Jones earlier. The thing about that is the earlier the pass comes out to the running back, the less time the defense has to go, oh, the running back is over there in the flat. And if Taylor's in the flat, it's generally an easier catch for him, especially if Jones keeps putting it directly on his chest. You shouldn't lead Jonathan Taylor. Don't do that. He's not great at that. But he can be a weapon because his speed in the open field, if you give it to him in space, allows him to do what he did today.
Yeah, and he's also, by reputation, not a great pass protector, so that plays into some of it in terms of not having him catch more passes. But yeah, no, that's another good one because then he was wide open on one of the plays today, and clearly if they want to
both
give him
of them really, his touchdown he walked in.
Yeah, just it's bizarre to see him be that good at one point, then totally disappear, and now he's back again. So.
That brings us to the last couple. This is one to throw away and one to go on. We always end with these because it's one to go on. We usually start out with one to throw away. What is one thing that we are talking about today that is not going to be a thing the rest of the season?
I am going to double down on our categories here with Jonathan Taylor, only in the standpoint of he played almost every snap in this game. He had, I think, 26 carries by the end. You can't do that the whole season or he's going to get hurt. I mean, he's already had some injury issues. At the end of last year, in the last 8 games, you had a number of at the rate he was running the ball, it was way too high. So they got to figure that out. You cannot, if the plan is to have Jonathan Taylor get 26 carries a game, that's not a great plan because he's going to get hurt if they do that.
Yeah, it's disturbing that they keep doing this. They put DJ Giddens on the field for 1 snap, but it was because Taylor had an equipment issue or something. He can have a couple of carries. If Taylor has 20 carries a day and Giddens has 5, maybe you miss out on the 68-yarder, but you probably don't. I don't know. I don't think it's my one to throw away is the Colts. The Colts aren't going to get penalized 11 times every game.
The discipline was a problem today, but
it was bad. I don't think that feels like an anomaly statistically. I don't feel like that's something that is going to happen much going forward. Also, maybe Xavier Howard doesn't get put in so many situations like that to get 3 penalties in 5 plays. There was a ton of flags. My wife's text to me at the end of the game was, fun game to watch, but a lot of flags. And she's right. There were 19 flags in the game, including one that decided it. Weird ref game.
And
plus
Shane
Steichen threw a penalty on Shane Steichen.
Yeah.
It's a weird ref game.
Well, he deserved it, but the team has not generally had a ton of penalties under Steichen, so I agree that that's just kind of a fluke. And again, there were some. It's both. I mean, obviously the leverage call I thought was terrible, but one of the pass interference calls was bad. There was one that didn't get called against.
There were two pass interference calls that were bad.
Yeah. So it was a weird referee game.
Yeah. I still think someone brought this up during Ask Joel, and I like the idea of it. If Shane had been in MLB and guys got ejected more often and they did what major league managers do, and Shane was out there like demonstrating the play and why it wasn't a thing, that would have been more fun. I would have liked that
Yeah,
a lot more.
we miss the can't kick dirt anymore, and you don't really see NBA coaches don't go after referees like they used to, just yell and scream, and obviously not physically, but you just don't see that much anymore. It's probably good, but you know, you got to
I
miss
was at
that.
I was at a Nationals game where Davey Martinez got ejected and he laid down on home plate, and it was a fun time. I'm sorry, like, was it?
Yeah.
Is it a bad example? Probably, but it was fun.
Or pick up the base and throw it. I can't remember who did that, but that's that's always a good one too. Just kick dirt on the plate so the umpire has to brush it off. I mean, that's like the ultimate petty. I love petty, and that's great.
Yeah. So I didn't see. Did you ever see if Shane threw his hat? I tried to find it. I couldn't find it.
I didn't see. I couldn't. I mean, he was not wearing his hat, but he might have been holding it in his hand. But
Well, like
also
he
good to
also
see
could
the
have
robot
like
get angry. So that's not bad.
he also got so upset that he also maybe he got so upset that he like convulsed and flung his hat off, which I don't know which one's better. I don't know which one's better. Anyway, lots of penalties. Not gonna have that many penalties the rest of the season. That leaves us with one to go on. One thing to take away from today's game that is going to be something we talk about the rest of the season.
I mean, I think it's got to be that Daniel Jones is a legitimately usable NFL quarterback. I'm not going to go. If someone else wants to say more than usable, I'm not going to disagree with you because I said he was terrible and he's not. I don't think you can. Who knows? It's 2 games. Maybe all of a sudden everything comes crashing down. But like you said, he's throwing the ball down the field. He's not getting sacked the way he always has in the past. I mean, there's just a lot. I mean, the stuff that you'd be worried about, you're not seeing at all. It's like he's a different quarterback. And I would have said Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones here, but I cannot give it to Shane Steichen after the time clock. I just got to go with it. And in fact, maybe we should be saying to Daniel Jones, why did you not tell Shane that the team has to throw the ball and get more yardage? That really the only criticism we could possibly give of Daniel Jones in this game.
Yeah, mine is going to dovetail with this. It's pretty much the same one, but I liked it so much I'm going to stick with it. My one to go on is Shane Steichen made the correct decision at starting quarterback.
Yeah, no, and we had this. Now, I didn't like either quarterback, so I said that they should start Anthony Richardson because you knew he was going to get hurt, and I didn't want if Jones gets hurt and then you bring in Richardson and then he gets hurt, that's a problem. Where if you spread him out a little bit, I think that works better. But clearly, from what we saw, it's not like Jones was burning it up in preseason, in training camp, from what you guys saw. So all the more credit to Steichen to knowing which ones. I've always said, to me, it's crazy when there's a quarterback controversy because you are the coach and you have the quarterbacks and you can you can make the quarterbacks do whatever you want. And if you still can't figure out who's better, that's on the coach, not on anyone else. And Steichen knows who's better. Credit to him.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and I'll tease this, and whenever I get it fully put together, I'll flesh it out. But I think one of the things that maybe sticks out is just we've kind of lost the ability to understand how the operation of the offense, how important that is. We kind of think of it as like a very pre-snappy type thing, and it's like especially after the decision was made, there were a lot of questions to Steichen about that were essentially saying, well, why does that matter? And maybe this is my other one to go on. Shame on you, Indianapolis. Of all cities, you should know that stuff matters. Of every city in the entire NFL, you should know that stuff matters because you had Peyton Manning, like the king of it.
And Steichen also confused people with how he did some weird stuff with Richardson last year, and so I mean but again, to me, he figured it out, and I always give people a ton of credit. It's very easy to keep trying to do the same thing. It's very hard to say this is not working and I can fix it, and I need to fix it. And he's done that. I mean, you got to give him 100% credit. Again, I said it was only 1 game. It's only 2 games, but 2 games is a lot more convincing than 1 game, especially against that Denver defense. So I'm not totally bought in, but I am way more bought in than I was at the beginning, before the season started.
One of the other developments is that, like when Jacoby Brissett was 5-2, and some of us, including me, wrote stuff that we regret about how well the offense was operating. The underlying statistics did not back it up. But 2 weeks into the season, the NFL leader in expected points added, which for those of you who don't know, that's an advanced statistic that essentially is trying to figure out like how successful is an offense based on expected points added per play. The leader in that is the Indianapolis Colts. That's a really good sign for an offense. They played a good defense today, and now they go to Tennessee next week, which feels like a game they should win.
Yeah, another good defense, but a first-year quarterback who hasn't shown necessarily a ton yet. I mean, that game was close early today, and the Rams pulled away at the end. But I mean, the flip side of that is if they lose the game, it's not the end of the world. I mean, obviously you want to win it. Winning it is, you always want to win, but they positioned themselves that they can afford a slip up here along the way. I think, which again, I thought they were all going to be slip ups. So what do I know?
So what we've learned from this First Impressions podcast is that our first impressions on the Indianapolis Colts for 2025 were not good.
100%. Trying to think. Now, I did say I liked the the weapons on offense. I thought they had a lot of pieces, but I did not see this. Did not see this coming at all. I thought the quarterback, no matter who they picked, was going to be a problem all season long, and clearly that's not the case.
There it is. Our first impressions. Let's be honest. Your first impressions, listener, of the Indianapolis Colts were wrong. They are more competent and better than. We'll see how it goes, but they're off to a much better start than we thought. For the Indy Star, I'm Joel A. Erickson. This is Nat Newell. This has been the First Impressions Pod. We'll be back sometime around 3:00 on Wednesday with a live podcast. Please like and subscribe if you're seeing this on YouTube. It's late, but I remembered to say it. And you'll see more of us.